Hey there everyone, happy Halloween. I'm here in the middle of the forest trying to look for any hideous monsters that might show up during this terrifying day. Unfortunately, I haven't found anything yet, and to be honest, sitting here alone is starting to get kind of boring. I actually brought my laptop here with me, but after I tried running security breach on it, the thing got so hot that it started this fire when I threw it on the ground. On one hand, that's a good thing, because now I have a source of heat, but on the other hand, my laptop is gone. Thankfully, I've still got my phone, and what better way to use it than to read some literature? I'm starting to get pretty tired of doom scrolling on Reels all the time. But what should I read today? The works of Shakespeare, George Orwell's iconic dystopian novel 1984, Diary of a Wimpy Kid? No, I'm not in the mood for any of those right now. Given the atmosphere in the forest and the fact that it's Halloween, I think that I'm looking for something a bit more scary. Undertale is a game that needs no introduction. Every single one of you knows what a Sans is. He's the funny little skeleton guy with the funny little song. This is one of my favorite games of all time. Everything about it is absolutely fantastic, and I think it deserves all the praise it gets. I could go on and on about how much I love this game, and don't even get me started on Deltarune, which actually is my favorite game of all time. Well, it was, until Silksong came out, that is. You guys should play that if you haven't. Undertale and Deltarune are fun, hilarious, heartwarming, have incredible visuals, and the most majestic music, but I'm not gonna talk about any of that right now. One day, I would like to make a video where I just yap about how much I love these two games, because these are interests that I am dying to talk about. But since today is a spooky day, I want to discuss the horror in Undertale and Deltarune. Okay, more specifically, I want to discuss the fan-made horror, because, well, there really isn't any of that in the actual games. I mean, sure, the Omega Flowey fight and Genocide route in Undertale, and the Weird route in Deltarune kind of delve a bit into the horror territory, but they're still not scary. They have nothing on some of the fan art that's come from these games. Now, when I think of internet horror, I think of two things: analog horror and creepypastas. Undertale has some analog horrors that I could talk about, but analog horror is too scary for me. So for this video, I want to focus solely on the creepypastas. For those who somehow aren't aware, creepypastas are internet horror stories that usually aren't very good. Obviously, there's some good creepypastas, but for every Ted the Caver, you get 10 Sonic.exes. Recently, I started watching this YouTuber called Davis Morgan while I draw or play games, and the main things he does on his channel are talk about horror literature and talk about creepypastas. One day he'll post a video about some messed up book, and the next he'll post one about the real Chuck E. Cheese, a story where there's a beast version of the Chuck E. Cheese mascot. Wonderful. Watching these videos has kind of made me obsessed with creepypastas, because a lot of them are really funny. Jeff the Killer refers to Clorox as a thing of bleach. How does one come up with this? So thanks to my new creepypasta obsession and my desire to talk more about Undertale and Deltarune, I thought I would combine the two and talk about Undertale creepypastas. In case you're wondering, I am not very popular in school. Enough with this intro though, I am dying to discuss these scary stories, so how about we get started with...
We've made the determination to move up the next extermination.
Real quick, I want to say that all the stories I'll take a look at in this video will be linked in the description, and I highly recommend that you read them. Go support the original creators. This first creepypasta, No Mercy, was created by someone named Chrome, and I honestly think it's pretty good. Yeah, there are some things about it that I find kind of goofy, but there's still some stuff in here that I think is genuinely well done. Also, this one actually has a video attached to it, which I'll be showing in the background. Our main character, who doesn't have a name so I'll just call them Narrator, doesn't really enjoy getting involved in the latest internet trends, as they find them unappealing. They would go insane in today's world. Narrator has a friend called Mike, who's a big fan of the hit game Undertale. Even though it's an internet trend, Narrator decides to call Mike and see what it's all about, because they're kind of interested. I'm not sure why Undertale is referred to as an internet trend. I think a more accurate description would be just to call it a very popular game. It's not really a trend, you know. An internet trend is something that makes people lose hope in humanity, like, I don't know, 6'7". Do you think 6'7" kid feels like Bart Simpson? Mike goes on and on about how great Undertale is, which is completely fair to be honest. I would do the same. Thanks to Mike's glowing review, Narrator decides to play the game, and they end up loving it. They end up level of violencing it. Something to take note of is that Narrator says they don't want to do the Genocide route because they've grown really attached to the game's characters and don't want to hurt him. Looks like somebody knows that being nice pays off.
He looks like an NPC, but he's running around leveling up crazy fast by being the freaking good guy.
However, things start getting a bit strange when Narrator finds a small data mining site on Google's 30-second page. I'm not sure what they were doing on there. I don't think I've ever seen a real person go to the second page of Google, let alone a 30-second one, but I also don't know many real people, so I don't know, maybe I'm just stupid. The people on the data mining mining site are little gatekeeping freaks who tell narrator that the only way to join their community is to be a true data miner. Narrator sucks at data mining though, so they get Mike to do it for them. You know, at that point, just don't even bother joining the community. While data mining, Mike finds this strange file called UT Route 3, which he shares with narrator. The file is apparently another version of Undertale, and narrator decides to play it. At first, they don't notice anything different, but then they realize that Route 3 might be referring to the genocide route, and playing that could reveal some new things. After debating if he should be a pacifist or use his fists, narrator decides that he's feeling evil and gonna kill them all. So they start the genocide route. Almost immediately things are off, as Toriel's house is darker than usual, and Toriel herself isn't even there. Narrator eventually does find Toriel, but instead of saying her usual dialogue, she tells narrator that they are no longer her child, and that she warned everyone in Snowdin about them. Narrator proceeds to kill Toriel, turning her into dust.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie. Hey, did that guy just turn into sand?
They do the same to Papyrus, but aren't able to kill Undyne. You see, in the middle of the fight, everything except his soul completely disappears. Narrator moves it around for 5 minutes, until they randomly get teleported to the Hotlands, and enter the now ruined lab. Here, Frisk starts moving on their own, entering a room full of monsters, one of which is Alphys, and forces the fight. Since Act and Mercy don't work, narrator has no choice but to kill them all. Mettaton Neo shows up after this, and he probably has the funniest lines in the entire creepypasta. You sick freak! Why would you do this? I can't be a star without my audience you just killed. Die! I love that the only reason Mettaton is mad narrator killed everyone is because now they can't watch a show. Also, the author forgot to put an apostrophe on the can't. This would not fly in English class. After killing Mettaton, it's time for narrator to meet these Sans. Sans tells them that they aren't supposed to be here, and that he's seen everything they've done. That's stalking, and stalking is a crime. Somebody needs to put Sans behind bars. Then, his iconic fight begins, but narrator keeps on losing. They've got a skill issue apparently. Eventually, they decide to reboot the game just to see what would happen, but Sans takes over the opening cutscene, taking them back to the fight, and saying that he can never be beaten. He proceeds to be beaten. What's weird though, is that like Frisk from earlier, the soul is moving and killed Sans without narrator doing anything, implying that they have a mind of their own. After dealing with Sans, narrator kills Asgore, which turns Frisk's face into Chara. Whoa, I can't believe Chara made him do all this. Narrator closes the game, feeling guilty about what they did in it. Like I mentioned earlier, they fell in love with the game's characters. It's not too bad though, after all, it isn't real. Papyrus doesn't actually exist, and that's just one of the many things wrong in this world. But in the final line of the story, narrator gets a message from utroute3@mail.com, reading, "Don't you know how to greet a new friend? The game is alive." I really like this ending twist. At no point in the story was narrator actually in danger. At the end of the day, the game they were playing was still just a game. Sans Undertale was never gonna jump out of the screen with hyper-realistic blood like Sonic.exe. However, this email at the end, as well as Frisk's sudden movements, imply that all the characters in his version of Undertale have sentience. And now, narrator has to live with the fact that he just killed a bunch of innocent people, all powerless to stop him. This is actually really cool. All that being said though, I didn't find the story to be scary at all. I don't really find reading about Undertale glitching out a bit to be all that bone chilling. The writing is good for the most part, but there were some lines here that had me asking what we were even doing. Sans calls narrator a dirty brother killer on 2 separate occasions. What in the Jeff the Killer is this? Aside from that line though, there's not any more silly creepypasta cliches in here. I didn't see any hyper-realistic characters or an unnecessary amount of violence, so that was a nice change of pace. I kind of wish Mike did more in the story other than introduce narrator to Undertale on Route 3. He was actually going to play the messed up version with narrator at first, but he ended up getting stuck in traffic. I think it would have been cool if they did play the game together, since not much evil video game creepypastas feature 2 protagonists. That would have been interesting to see. Overall, while No Mercy wasn't scary, I think it's a pretty well-written creepypasta, and I'll tell you this, it's got me thinking about NPCs and how I play the game, because they might be real.
Hey, Horse Sans is on this beat. This is the Creepypasta song.
The next creepypasta I'm going to take a look at is called Saforna5, created by Spliforzi on Wattpad. It's a pretty short one, but it's also kind of funny. The story's main character, Kate, is a huge Undertale fan. She even writes fanfictions and makes fan art of the game. Despite her obsession with Undertale though, Kate's never actually played the game. She's exhibiting some real FNAF fan behavior right here. She eventually does get a copy of Undertale for her birthday, but something is immediately off, as she notices that Flowey is gone. Things get even stranger after this, as when Kate enters the ruins, she finds that Toriel has been replaced by Sans the Skeleton. You might recognize him from Super Smash Bros. But wait, this isn't the regular wisecracking Sans everyone has come to know and love. It's the evil Saforna5, and somehow he knows Kate's name. Also, he's got no eyes, which is actually a kind of scary visual, at least to me. Messed up faces freak me out. Saforna5 asks Kate if she's gonna do the genocide route, and she says no, she's doing the pacifist route instead. However, this is a lie, one that Saforna5 manages to see right through, and he takes the game back to its main menu. What's weird though is that instead of the title reading Undertale, it reads Flowey Tale. Why? I don't know. Then the game tells Kate that she feels horrible about herself, and Frisk looks directly at the screen with a creepy Chara face. Wow, I can't believe Chara made Kate do all this. Starting off with the positive things I have to say about the story, I like how vague it is in terms of what Sephora 5 is. The true nature of this evil Sans is never revealed, and the creepypasta never explains why he's in a seemingly normal version of Undertale. It makes it seem as if Sephora 5 could appear in my copy of the game, which is quite terrifying. That being said, I think Flowey's role in the story is a little too vague, to the point where it just leaves me confused. He clearly has some connection to Sephora 5, since he didn't appear in the starting room like usual, and the title screen said Flowey Tale when Kate went back to it, but it's never even hinted as to what his connection could be. Also, I once again did not find the story to be scary. The creepiest thing here was imagining an eyeless Sans, and I don't think I'm going to be losing much sleep over that. Honestly, I really only get scared by strange looking weirdos like that stupid jester in Secret of the Mimic, intense gore, or more realistic or psychological concepts. I've never read it, but going off of what I've heard about I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, I think it's a really scary book. The idea of being tortured for all eternity, unable to die, is horrifying to me. Of course, the boiled labube was pretty darn scary as well. None of the creepypastas I'm talking about have any of the things I just mentioned, which is probably why I wasn't frightened reading them. I like how Sephora 5 has some lines where he talks in numbers, but I kind of wish the story committed to that gimmick a bit more. There's some lines that absolutely could have had numbers in them, but they don't. There's some stuff in here that I find pretty funny, even if it's probably unintentional. My personal favorite line is, maybe one of my friends just tried to get the WD Gaster stuff to work but failed. Maybe. What does this mean? What WD Gaster stuff are you talking about, Kate?
No one will ever know my secrets. No one will ever know my secrets.
I also really like how Kate calls herself a Sans girl, and it's one part where she says heh after saying she was shaken to the bones. What a wacky little tonal shift. This story also has Sans call the main character a dirty brother killer. Was this like a popular saying in the Undertale fandom at the time? I swear the line is not that tough, you guys. That's all I have to say about Sephora 5. It was short, but it had some nice things in it. Like the WD Gaster stuff. Seriously, what was that all about?
We three fates of Undertale don't know what you'll do.
Okay, hi, this is me from the future. While editing, I realized that this creepypasta is actually a fan-made creation based on an Undertale AU that's also called Horror Tale. I won't be taking a look at the Horror Tale AU in this video though, just this creepypasta, so very sorry to all the fans of that. Also, the creator of this pasta linked the video in the description, and everything that happens in the story also happens in there, so I'll just use that for background footage. As far as I'm aware though, the creator of the pasta did not make that video. Okay, that's all I have to say. Back to past me now. Helptale is the final creepypasta I'm going to be taking a look at in this video, and it was created by the Future Trunks fan on DeviantArt. Going to that website was probably the most scared I've been while making this video. Our once again nameless narrator is a certified gamer and avid creepypasta reader, just like everybody else. I like the implication here that everybody in the world reads creepypastas. Sonic.exe does the exact same thing except for Sonic the Hedgehog. Narrator is a massive Undertale fan, and they consume all the Undertale content they possibly can, including fan games. One of these fan games was called Helptale. Something tells me that this will be important, and that something is the title of the story. Narrator thinks the game is a bit strange, but they decide to play it anyways. This fan game skips Undertale's opening and takes the player directly to the Flowey room. However, Flowey is all messed up, having only one eye and a demented smile. A dialogue box shows up, telling narrator that they're gonna die, and then they get teleported to the catacombs. Here, narrator notices that Frisk has no face, no eyes, no mouth, and yet he must scream. That last part is of course a reference to the amazing digital circus. Narrator encounters a puddle and starts a battle with them. Immediately, the puddle begins to cry somehow, and they keep saying, "No more, no more, no more," until eventually they say, "Great job!" What a strange little puddle. Once the battle ends, narrator gets teleported to a hallway. They go down it, but for whatever reason, the camera isn't following them. Nothing says scary like a weird camera. Eventually, they once again run into Flowey, who gives them some kind of strange locket. Then Flowey begins laughing, his face getting more and more disturbing and unrecognizable. He starts begging for help until eventually, his face vanishes. Narrator gets teleported to an area with Sans and Papyrus, but Sans' dialogue is all messed up. Suddenly, a battle starts, and narrator says, "I was then thrust into a battle, which then I saw the thing that approached me." Grammar. Okay, this isn't that big of a deal, but the correct version of this line would be, "I was then thrust into battle, and I saw the thing that approached me," or something like that. Which then I saw the thing that approached me doesn't make any sense. The monstrosity fighting the narrator just consists of eyes, mouths, and hands, which is actually a pretty scary visual. Narrator selects act and uses the love option, where it's stated that Frisk loves the absolute beating he's getting. Little freak.
Freaking creepy.
Narrator throws a bunch of snow at the monstrosity until we can finally use the mercy option. Here he gets a strange choice that's just a bunch of question marks, which he clicks on. First calls out a locket to the souls, and everything disappears except the player soul and this strange black one. The black soul begins to split, and text shows up saying that something's changed. Then, the game crashes and the story ends. Help Tale Part 2 was apparently supposed to come out, but it never did, so I guess this will forever end on a cliffhanger. A lot of the story felt like a bunch of random spooky things happening. The only thing that's ever really important is a locket, and even then, it's not clear what exactly it did because the sequel never got made. There's some sentences here that just don't flow naturally at all, like monstrosity then attacked me, which is what I didn't expect. It attacked me with 4 rows of thick bones. I think a better way to phrase it would have been monstrosity attacks me with 4 rows of thick bones, which I didn't expect. I did like the monstrosity though. I think that a creature made of hands, mouths, and eyes is actually creepy. I don't really have anything else to say about Help Tale. It wasn't bad or anything, but it was my least favorite story that I read for this video. So those were all the creepypastas I wanted to take a look at in this video. But to be honest, I think ending on Help Tale is a bit anticlimactic. If only I could think of a way to end the video in a really cool and fun way.
The flood's come and now you can't tread on tragedy like gravity.
Yeah, that's right, I wrote my own creepypasta. Was it a waste of time? Absolutely. But did that stop me from making it? I wish it did. Okay, I don't want to delay the inevitable, so guess I gotta read this thing now. For as long as I can remember, I've always been somewhat of an edgelord. My favorite color? Black. My favorite movie? Joker. My favorite Sonic character? Shadow the Hedgehog. People call me Felonious Screw because just like him, I'm dark, mysterious, and a disappointment to my family. In my free time, I enjoy playing video games because they allow me to fulfill my dark fantasies. I can't beat people up in real life because then I'd get arrested, so I do it in games. I love stomping on Goombas. Recently, I've gotten into playing this game called Undertale. I heard a lot of people on the internet talk about how great it was, so I decided to get it. Of course, I only did so because I wanted to prove that this game was awful and overrated. I tend to go against the grain like that. But unfortunately, something terrifying happened. I fell in love with the game. I've been playing it almost every day for the past 6 months. I don't like Undertale for the stupid and dumb reasons everyone else likes it for though. I don't care about the well-developed characters or the incredible emotional moments. No thanks. My heart is as cold as Antarctica. I actually like Undertale for one simple reason. It allows me to kill everyone. Despite being a game that's rated everyone 10 and up, Undertale has this super dark and messed up route that brings a sadistic smile to my despicable face, where you kill everybody in the underground. This is the only route I have ever done. I don't want to waste my time doing the pacifist route and sparing all the characters. Do I look woke to you? Today, I decided to do the genocide route for the 100th time, while I watch a compilation of offensive Family Guy moments in the background. I gleefully slayed Tutorial, joyfully defeated Papyrus, and proudly cancelled Metaton. More like Metagon. That was just a small glimpse of my dark sense of humor. Trust me, I get so much more deranged. After demolishing the underground citizens, I got to the Sans boss fight. This was my favorite fight in the whole game. It's not only insanely difficult, which I enjoy, but it's truly messed up. Nothing says edgy like killing Sans' idiot brother and then getting rid of him. Before the fight began, Sans went through his usual spiel of how evil I am. Little does he know, I revel in being evil. After all, evil is just live but backwards, and boy does being mean make me feel alive. The fight began, but I immediately noticed that something was off. For whatever reason, Megalovania wasn't playing. What the flip? As a matter of fact, no music was playing. I thought this was strange, but I just ignored it. Silence is enough to keep my dark soul entertained after all. I tried to select fight to kill Sans like usual, but for whatever reason, the game didn't let me select it. What? I like this game because it lets me kill people. If I can't do that, then it's just stupid. I want my money back, Toby Fox. Suddenly, Sans stopped his idle animation. He started staring directly into my diabolical soul, and then he began talking. You want me to show you my special surprise? Then, out of nowhere, I felt myself being lifted off of my gaming chair. Huh? What is this, magic? No, this isn't simply magic. It's sorcery. Evil sorcery. This was, of course, my favorite kind, but not when it's being used against me. And then, as if things couldn't get any more twisted, I got sucked into my computer. When all that was over, I realized I was alone in a dark, empty room with Sans. Welcome to Undertale! Sans roared. I'm so glad you could finally join me. All of me! Once Sans finished talking, the dark room became filled with light. I closed my eyes in shock at this brightness, but I eventually managed to slowly open them. As I did, I noticed that the room wasn't quite as empty as I thought it was. All around me were piles and piles of dead Sans skeletons. Whoa! Talk about a kill count! Somebody call James A. Janice!
How many people wound up biting the big one of 87?
Was that the bite of it?
Do you recognize any of these, friend? Sans asked. They're all the different versions of me you've killed during your little genocide routes. Friggin' sweet, I proclaimed. Boy, am I skilled. Sans laughed. Do you not sense the gravity of the situation you are in, player? You're in my world now, and you have to follow my rules. Rules were made to be broken, I replied. I suppose I should explain how I brought you here, Sans said, ignoring my epic snarky comeback. You see, every time you killed my brother, every time you killed me, my powers got more powerful. I got more sentient. I got more resentful. Do you know how painful it is seeing you kill me and my friends over and over again, powerless to stop you? Well, I'm powerless no more. Sans walked closer, wearing his iconic Sans smile. You've made the entire underground suffer. You think you're so cool and edgy. Will you still when I return the favor? You're in my debt, and it's time for you to pay up. As hard as it is to believe, I started panicking a bit. Pay up? Doesn't Sans know I'm broke? You're gonna be stuck here forever, Sans roared, and I'm gonna kill you. Over and over and over again. You will break once you have gone through just a fraction of what you've made us suffer. Suddenly, the Sans fight began once more, except this time, I was Sans and he was me, controlling the soul to kill me for the rest of eternity. So, this was it. I would be down here in the underground for the rest of my life. Sans would kill me over and over again, and yet, I'd always live to tell the tale. I guess that's why they call it Undertale. After what felt like years, the fight suddenly ended. Did Sans finally get tired of my eternal torment? I did not get tired of your eternal torment, Sans said. Whoa! Talk about a mind reader! I simply stopped at the request of one of my closest friends, Sans stated. When Sans said that, my mind started spinning. Friends? How do you get those? Suddenly, a mysterious man entered the room. Hello, human, he said. Can you tell me your name? My name? I asked. I suppose I ought to tell you. I am Rory Knight. Hello, Rory, said the mysterious man. My name is W.D. Gosta. Anyways, I have a job for you. I want you to be my little guinea pig for my new multiverse experiment. Guinea pig? I hate to be a cute little animal. I always thought myself as more of an alpha wolf after all, but I suppose it's better than my current situation. I'm in, I said. Great, William Defoe Gaster said. Now, before we go, let me tell you all about dark fountains. Shakespeare is so mad he didn't think of any of that before I did. Well, those are all the Undertale creepypastas I wanted to talk about today. I'd say that No Mercy and Sephora 5 are pretty good, and I especially liked No Mercy. It's no literary masterpiece or anything, but it's a lot better than most other creepypastas. Helptale was just fine, I guess. To be fair, it is unfinished, but I don't know. I just didn't really get much out of it. In hindsight, making it the last story I talk about wasn't a very good idea. And my creepypasta? Well, let's just say, I better hope no potential employer ever finds it. I'm kind of disappointed though. I talked about all those Undertale creepypastas because I wanted something to do until a freaky monster showed up, but no freaky monster ever showed up. I waited here in this stupid forest for nothing! Are you sure about that? What? Wait a minute, who said that? Hey man, it's me, Hyperrealistic Sans. I really enjoyed those Undertale creepypastas you just read. My favorite part about them is how they remind me of the scary spaghetti my brother, Hyperrealistic Papyrus, makes. Speaking of which, he's making some of that right now, so I gotta head home to eat. Au revoir. That's French. Wow, that sucked. It wasn't worth the wait at all. I just wasted my whole night here. So, if you'll excuse me, I think I'm gonna go home now. Bye, I guess.